award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching and for listening. We're back at the Holston General Store here in Morristown, Tennessee at the Region 4 office, and we are just excited to be here. Mr. Matt Cameron's been hosting us for a series of shows.
Yeah, buddy.
And it's been fun.
We've had a good time, some great guests. Got another great show lined up for you today.
Yeah. So next to Matt is our co-host, Sally Petre. She just joined us for a show, and thought we'd bring her back and do another one. So appreciate her joining us. But our guest today is Andrew Paducah. He is the first to achieve Master Level 5 in the TARP program.
TARP.
TARP.
Tell them what that is.
Tennessee Angler Recognition Program.
Almost sounds like another species of fish, a tarp.
Yeah.
Tarpon, carp. It's like a hybrid.
So I'm excited to hear how some of his fishing adventures and what it was like to reach that level and all the fun stuff that we're going to dive into today. But if you're not familiar with TARP, go to our website, tmwildlife.org. Click on the fishing tab and scroll down. You'll see some information on TARP. You can also look at see the Tennessee Angler Recognition information in our fishing guide. What page is that, Sally?
47.
Page 47 of the fishing guide. And so go check it out, read up on it, get some information. We're going to try to cover a lot of it today. First of all, Andrew, thank you for being with us.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's your friend, one of our commissioners, Tommy Woods, called me and said, hey, I think it was at a meeting. He said, hey, my buddy just reached that level 5. You need to get him on one of your shows. I said, yeah, we'll do that. So I'm glad you're here, and I'm excited to learn about your fishing adventures and learn a little bit about you. If you don't mind, share a little bit of your background and what you do.
Well, first off, I can promise you there will be some fish stories today.
Okay.
No matter how big or how small, they're guaranteed. I think that's one of those things that goes hand in hand with fishing. But I've been fishing for a long time. I mean, I've been at it since as long as I can remember. Never caught much growing up with my old man. But the big outings way back when were just to catch fish, and it boiled down to carp because we could catch a carp.
Yeah.
As bad as that sounds, it started with a carp, and it was a method in which we would go. He always made it fun, so I enjoyed it. We would go light line, catch carp. And carp, as anyone knows, I mean, everybody downplays them, but when you're a kid, you're 6, 7, 8 years old. You just want to tug on the end of the pole. You don't care what it is, and the bigger the better.
Yes.
Yeah.
They get big.
They do. So, in essence, it started as it was a good method in which to learn how to catch a big fish on light line. And the light line has served many, many, many good experiences over the year with it. And that's what separates a lot of people, I feel like, from catching fish is... obviously, it's a method in which they do it, but everybody always wants to go in gangbusters. It'd be like shooting a raccoon with a .50 caliber gun. I mean, it just doesn't work, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of people get entrapped in sometimes bigger is better, heavier lines, so they get the fish in. And ultimately, if you can fish, you can fish. And it's just... there's a learning curve there, but there's definitely tricks to the trade that help you catch those fish.
Yeah.
But it's all about a presentation and desire to get out there and do it when you need to do it, not when you want to do it.
And the challenge, I like that light line idea. It's just the challenge of reeling those bigger fish in on that lighter line, and it's a different type of fishing.
It is. It is. I mean, and I have a 6-year-old that is completely enamored with it. And just to put it in context of how important the line is, I fish exclusively. If I could give one person the number one rule to catching bigger fish is lighter line and fluorocarbon. And it was very apparent what was going on. I took a gentleman fishing with my son. We were catching fish, just one right after the other. Trout, nice trout, anywhere from 15 to his biggest one that day was 29 inches. And I had caught 8 fish before the gentleman I took had caught one. And he said, I want to take my pole. Okay, whatever.
Right.
And he was using mono and 10-pound test. Never got one bite. And we had caught 8. before I gave him my pole.
Okay. I was wondering when that point was.
It just gets to the point like, man, come on, here.
Yes,
He took
I
one of
want you
mine.
to enjoy this.
Yes, I've done this. And here, take it. And as soon as he did, first cast, it was just like someone threw a light switch. And it boiled down to, it wasn't the method in which it was being delivered. It boiled down to something as simple as the fishing line.
And why does fluorocarbon make that much difference over mono?
It's just a transparency thing. I mean, you use a light fluoro, it just disappears. And I fish a lot in saltwater as well. And it's just as big deal down there as it is in freshwater. And and again, it's that line diameter. Sometimes you can't get down there. You can't get bit on 30-pound test, but you drop to 20, and you get eaten all the time. But the problem with 20 is you can't get the fish in because he's too big. So it's a darned if you do, darned if you don't type thing.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
So you started fishing at a young age and continued your whole life. Sounds like you've been doing it for a while.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm 40 years old. And literally have had a fishing pole in my hands, catching creek chubs for as long as I can remember.
Yeah. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up fishing?
I grew up in Johnson City. I'm a local boy.
Yeah.
And like I said, we mainly fished on Watauga Lake. And growing up, we loved the lake because of how pretty it is, right?
Oh yeah, beautiful.
But we called it the Dead Sea. Everybody would go up there, or we would go up there and flog it, and very seldom caught a big fish. I still remember the biggest fish I ever caught out of that when I was a youngster was about a 3-pound smallmouth, and it was like the holy grail. And took it home and mounted it. Still have it to this day. I mean, and I'm sitting there thinking, now I look back on that thinking, yeah, times were desperate back then.
As a good fight, though, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it was.
That size.
It was for sure.
Yeah, I could say that our waters all across the state have come a long way. I mean, we've had some good fishing, but it's getting better and better.
I travel quite a lot. I just got back from Michigan grouse hunting for a week.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
So I'm all over this country, and whether it's fishing or traveling or work, it's East Tennessee for trophy fish, going by strictly size, is second to none to anywhere in the country. Now, you might have some larger bass down south, but outside of the bass, you ain't going to beat it. I mean, you're just simply not going to do it. And, you have stripers. We've caught them 50, 60 pounds. You have the hybrids. I think it's 23 pounds is the state record. I've come within 2 pounds several times.
Whoa.
The trout fishing, I don't care what you're trying to catch. Now, obviously, the brook or the cutthroats out west, they're bigger. They've been around longer. Those are probably a fish that's a little harder to come. But the browns and rainbows, you're not going to beat them, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, if you find them, you're just not going to beat them. It's just the way it is.
That's Sally's wheelhouse. She's in streams, rivers, fisheries. So she can talk trout with you.
Yeah. There we go.
She's probably hearing this, getting pretty excited, thinking, "Oh, good, the work that we're doing is paying off." I know your colleagues would love to hear this conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
it truly is. I mean, state agencies are a lot of things, guys, but TWA, I mean, and lots of people, oh, he's just blowing smoke. I cannot express to you guys how well the fisheries is. I mean, especially where I fish, how well it's doing. Now, things can always be tweaked. Things can always get better.
Sure.
Regardless of where you're at or who you are. But in the realm of just good fish, quality fish, can't beat it. For freshwater fish, you cannot beat East Tennessee. Period.
awesome.
And this is an unpaid.
This message
Angler.
brought to you by
No.
We have some great partners too that help us. You know, our tailwaters. We work a lot with TVA on how to release the water and things like that to help the quality of the water so that the fish are, you know.
Oh, yeah, cold water, super oxygenated, can't beat it. Tailwater fishing is as good as it gets anywhere. I don't care where the tailwater is. That's where the fish are going to want to be certain times of the year.
Yeah. Well, before we get too deep, let's talk about the TARP program and just a few stats that I was able to dig up. The first TARP certificate was given out in 2003, so this program's been around a while. And
Almost 20 years?
Yeah. Wow, 20 years. It's
hard to believe.
I graduated high school in 2003. Brad Golden, and he was the first one to get a certificate. And then the first Master Level 1 was our own Jim Habera in 2004, January 2004. So just to give you a few stats on when it kind of got started, but today we have Andrew with us to talk about reaching that level 5, and I just kind of want to hear some of the stories of how you got to that level, and what was maybe some of the first fish you caught that qualified, and what led you down the list to start getting these certificates and reach those levels.
Well, the list starts by accident. I have I used to fish a lot with my cousin Derek, and he was hooked up with another gentleman who fished and caught a lot of big fish. And so the progression of how to catch those fish started way back in the early 2000s for us. I believe my first one was either a striper or a hybrid, and so you start there. You start with a fish, and I was in school, then working, so fishing kind of took a back step. But then it comes full circle, comes back around when you get firmly in a place, you start going, and the list starts of what can I catch to knock off the list. You always go with the easiest. It's human nature for God knows what reason, so you start with the easy ones.
Like a bluegill?
Well,
what's easy for you? It depends.
That's exactly right. And it all depends on where you're at and what you're used to catching. And I'm one of my faults is I'm not a artificial guy.
So everything's been live bait.
Almost everything.
Almost, yeah.
I mean, some of the fish you catch so many of the tarps that you catch them and they just go back in.
Yeah.
And you don't even think anything about it anymore. But I'm a live bait person. Anywhere from, I don't care what it takes. You say, Andrew, you can go catch a 30-inch trout on a night crawler, sign me up. Or, hey, go catch some creek chubs and you'll go catch a walleye. I don't care. I'm in it to. I want to catch fish. I like to go catching, not fishing. So again, that's human nature. And it starts there. And you hear a story. You're on these Facebook pages. You see where people are fishing, what they're catching, not necessarily how they're catching, but they're catching the fish. And then it's up to you to figure it out. So it starts. The Master Angler 1 is just catch 5 citation fish. Doesn't matter what they are.
And you said your first one was a stripe or a hybrid, so that was a 40 or a 30-inch fish.
Sure.
For your first one.
I believe the hybrid was 33. It's still, to this date, one of the only fish I've caught that I didn't, and I return everything. I don't
catch and release.
Catch and release. That hybrid was 33 inches and weighed right at 20 pounds. Wow. And I released him in the hopes of catching him when he weighed over 23 pounds for the state record. It's probably I think it's one of 2 fish in my life that I wish I'd kept him mounted. So it's just one of those things, and I don't catch and eat them. It's if I want a good fillet of something, I'll just walk down to Kroger and get me something.
So before we get too deep, just so I got the things in line here, 'cause I've never entered TARP. I don't know exactly, but do you measure this on site and show a picture of the measurement, and how do you make sure it's qualified?
Well, there's actually 2 different methods in which you can do it. The first one being you're fishing with a buddy, a partner, somebody on the bank, a witness. So, and honestly, it's a honor thing.
Honor system.
It's an honor system, and to me, there's no virtue in trying to attain a goal that you're cheating yourself. There's no reason to do that. Yeah. And it doesn't mean anything to anyone other than yourself, or in my instance, me. And so you have a lot of time invested in these different fish of trying to catch them of certain sizes. So back to the original question, you have to have a witness that signs off on it that it was X number of inches long, where it was, what it was caught on, etc. You release the fish. The second one being, if you were fishing by yourself, you put a ruler on the deck and you hope to God you can get your fish to hold still for long you to dig your cell phone out and for you to snap a picture
and not knock it in the water.
And so once you do that, you submit it to you folks, and you guys certify it and send it back. Super easy.
Was it a quick turnaround when you send these in?
It all varies.
Okay, we may not need to go down that road then.
Again, it doesn't really matter, but sometimes they come back in a week and sometimes it takes a month. So it just depends on how busy you folks are.
Exactly.
And every business, regardless of what you are, there's ups and downs, so it takes some time.
Exactly. Turnover, things like that.
So you're level 5.
Yes, sir.
What does it take to become a TARP level 5 angler?
It takes a lot of time.
How much time do you think it's taken?
I don't know.
When you started?
I can tell you the hardest one that has been for me has been the rainbow trout. That number is out of whack. It's 24 inches.
Yeah.
And maybe it's out of whack for the method in which I fish. Let's put it that way. I have been fishing for that fish for 10 years of 24. Now, if you said how many 23 and a half inches have you caught, I'd probably say close to 50. That 23, the 23 to 24 it's not an easy fish, but you definitely can catch them.
Yeah.
That 24 inch or bigger for a rainbow it's hard. It's hard.
That's
Yeah.
big.
It's
That
hard.
really is big. I mean, you think about it. 2 rulers.
Yeah.
It's
No,
it's
I
a
mean-
big.
Do you have any input on that?
No, I agree. It's hard. It's hard. And I know from talking from Jim, who's on your list of the first level 1 angler.
Yeah, Jim. He's a biologist here in Region 4.
Yeah, he always says, he's like, man, if I could just get another 1/4 inch out of a fish. It's like, so
stretcher.
I get that. Yeah, yeah.
But your son caught a 29er.
Well, we
Is that
got
right?
he did, and for Christmas I actually got a replica made of it. coming.
cool. That's cool.
So, but we got on a bite this year that was unbelievable, and it was this for about a month. We would go and fish over that 24 inch mark. We'd probably catch 3 or 4 in an outing, and God only knows how many 15 to 20 to 22 inches.
Really
I
nice.
mean, you just you get sick of catching them. And one day we probably hooked 5 fish, and seriously we'd set the hook and I'd hand in the pole. We've caught our fish. I've caught my fish, and it's about bringing him along with me to make sure that he does it. And so I have a fishing buddy, right? And now you can't beat him off with a stick to get him out of the boat.
Oh, yeah.
But we got on a bite. We figured something out in one of the tailwaters, and it was just unbelievable. I mean, just absolutely unbelievable. And hooked some fish we never saw. And I fish with generally 2 units of water. I don't ever fish one of our local tailwaters with 0 units, never, unless I'm trying to catch bait, which I'm sure that's gonna make you cringe.
No,
But
it's okay.
it was one of those magical years. Now back to the original rainbow trout question. I took one of your all's fellow officers in a trout tournament this year on Watauga Lake. Corey Jones, good friend, great guy.
Yeah.
Took him and his 2 boys, and
Boy.
I was pre-fishing with another buddy of mine and caught the rainbow trout. It was like 24 1/8 inches. Caught it on my buddy, who actually is the number 2 person in the state to do this, Jamie Rudolph.
Oh, okay.
Who couldn't make it, but I caught it on his pole because he was reeling in a lake trout on the other side of the boat. and he and I have been after that fish, that rainbow trout, for a long time. He got it up and get it up, and there it is. It's a 24 1/8 incher, and it was like, oh my God, where'd that thing come from? But that fish kind of set the tone. We got on the rainbow trout bite, and it was unbelievable. I mean, to this day in my entire life, I've never been part of something like that. I mean, every time you'd go, we hooked fish that got spooled us, because if you beefed the line up, you couldn't do anything. We had fish go into the dam, into the grates, which never happened. Have fish wrap you around rocks. I mean, it's just, you get a big fish on in fast water, on light line, it becomes a mess, and you better hope you have someone that can run a boat.
Yeah.
So it's
Well, any tips? We're not looking for your secret method, but for people that want to go out and catch a trout, a nice trophy-sized trout to them.
Again, it boils back to people tend to try to fish the way they think, the way they see something, the way, oh, this looks good. And this is not like an epiphany, but you go out, you try to duplicate what you think the fish are biting, whether it be a night crawler or a minnow or something to that effect, and you rig it to effect that it's more a natural presentation. And again, it goes back to fluorocarbon. I mean, and if you go back to the fluorocarbon, it helps hide the human presence to it. And I know I've harped on it already, but I can tell you it makes a tremendous difference, more so than anything else.
Yeah. Well, got any more fish stories on some of on that list? I guess this isn't the full list. This was an early. I keep pointing at it. But this was an early poster of the TARP program. and there's only 20 fish on this one, I think it is, but there's 27, I think, fish now or something like that you can catch. What was some more of the fun ones that helped you get to this level?
The muskie.
Oh, no, that is a fish I want to go after.
It's supposed to be the fish of 1,000 casts, and
it's 3 for you, right? 3 casts.
Seriously, it was.
Was it?
That's where I'm headed with this. I have a buddy that lives on the Nolechucky River, kind of down off of 107.
Interesting. Huh.
And I've always heard my entire life that those fish are there, right?
Yeah.
Well, he said, Andrew, I saw somebody catch one. I said, Jerry, you just don't go see somebody catch a 40-inch muskie. It's just. He said, I did. Well, his property borders. He said, come down. I'll even show you what they're throwing. We go down there, and it's a whopper plopper in its early stages, and the big whopper plopper. And we're down there on the side of a bank. It's muddy. I'm up 5 feet off the bank, throwing it out there third cast. You're actually making fun. It seriously happened like that.
Third cast.
Hey, it was the third cast. And they hooked it, and it was about a 36-inch muskie. But before it was over with, I got so excited because it was one of those fish in it's south. It's hard to come by. Mm-hmm. I slipped into the water. I looked like a tar baby coming out. I mean, I was covered in mud, and it was silt down at the bottom. So when I got up there, I had mud up to my knees. I had an arm that was caked in. The rod was laying down there, but I had that muskie under the gills, holding it like this. I mean, I looked like a pig in mud, wallowing around, and that got me started. From there, I went to go get permission to launch a boat. I have a jet boat that I run. Mm-hmm. Launch a boat, and in a month's time, I don't know how many we hooked, but we wound up catching. I caught 3 or 4 that summer, and that is a fish that was caught on artificial, and had several follows. My buddy, who I mentioned, Jamie, he was fishing with me one day, and he had been fishing with a still leader for 45 minutes or an hour, 2 hours. We'd always fish right before dark. Well, it got into a mess, and he said, to hell with it. I'm going to put on a 100-pound leader because that's what I got. He throws it out there, cranking it back, and that just thump, 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 like the whopper plopper does, and a big, huge explosion. And a big muskie. It's topwater, too. And so it makes it, there's an added element there of excitement. You see that fish boil, and it's thrashing. He hooks it. And has it on for 20 minutes, and they tend to come to the fish we have caught tend to come to the boat easy, and then they go bonkers.
They see the boat.
A brown trout does the same thing. I mean, a big brown just goes absolutely nuts. This thing's jump back and forth, and he jumps out of the water, and he's got the whopper plopper strung on the side of his face, and the bait's about that big. Mm-hmm. And then it gets next to the boat. I didn't have a net. Recipe for disaster automatically. So I don't have a net. There it sits. It gets spooked one more time, takes off. It runs out from here 20 yards off the boat.
They don't tire out fast, do they?
No, and the thing jumps again. And this time the lure's on the other side of the fish, and the line is running through its mouth. Ooh. And when it did that, the line cuts. And I'll never forget my buddy's face. And he sits down in the back of the boat, and he's sitting there just like this, and it's like somebody just told him his best dog died or his grandma died. I mean, and he just sits back there for 20 minutes because he's spent all summer trying to catch his fish with me, and I've caught several. We actually had 8 blow-ups that night. Got one in. And he lost that big one. But he has since then caught one in Milton Hill. Yeah. But it was just like someone told him his dog died. And I'll never forget it. And it was my fault because I didn't have a friggin' net in the boat. It's not a fish you just pick down and you pick up and grab anyways.
So people right now are Googling Highway 107, whopper plopper, fluorocarbon.
Go wear it out. That's the one fish. Do not fish with fluorocarbon. Still leader about that long.
100-pound test.
Oh, yeah. Right through it.
Jump.
Wow, that's crazy.
Cool.
That is cool, though. I think that's the next fish I want to go after. I got a buddy that's already told me. He said, we're going to go. He pulled out a tackle box and looked at the baits. He was like this. I'm like, are you serious? So,
sure.
It should be a fun trip. And he likes to do it on a fly rod, too.
Another element to it.
That's cool.
A lot of effort there.
Mm-hmm. So what's next for you?
The next is there is no 6 level yet. And understandably, I'm one. It's been around for what you guys said, 20 years.
Yeah.
So next is the goal is now to get them all.
Yeah.
And some of them, I mentioned to you guys earlier today that the big goal for me was always to catch them in East Tennessee. It actually means, sure, you can travel to certain lakes that are known for certain fish and catch those fish. And it was just something I wanted to do basically in the Johnson City area. There's a handful of lakes there and rivers that have these fish in them, and you just go to when they're biting. And like I said, I've caught 21 now, and one has come from a lake outside of East Tennessee, and that was a blue cat. And they're hard to come by in East Tennessee, period. And it came from Watts Bar. So,
yeah,
easy trip.
Well, good luck to catching them all. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. What do you lack?
Oh, what do I lack?
Yeah.
I like some easy ones. I like a black crappie.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah.
Maybe it's not so easy.
Yeah.
I see that one on the list.
I guess that's the old
there it
list.
is,
Yeah, there it
14.
is. There it is.
Yeah. And I've caught a couple prior. I've caught a couple that, for whatever reason, I didn't
enter.
Okay.
The black crappie, the bowfin, not even sure where I'm going to go to get. I know that one's not in East Tennessee.
Yeah.
The long-nosed gar, that's another one. Then the spotted gars are I've never caught a long nose. The sauger,
Oh yeah.
which will come from right down here in y'all's neck of the woods.
Oh yeah.
And
If it's a trophy sauger, it's going in the skillet, man.
that's exactly where those go.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, we're going to run out of time, but I wanted you to mention the Class B, right?
boy,
Class
yeah,
B world record or state record for goldfish. Who got that?
Yeah. Oh boy. My husband Justin Walbert got the Class B. He was bow fishing for goldfish, so he's very, very proud of it. Gotta give him a shout out.
Got it hanging on the wall.
He's got it hanging on the wall. He likes it when people notice when they come over.
By the way, have you seen my goldfish?
Oh yeah.
He's beat his own record, right?
He's beat his own record,
Oh,
so he
yeah.
has 2 state records framed, everything. Oh yeah.
That's great.
It's all about it.
Yeah, so check out our website, teamwildlife.org. Check out our guide. All the information on TARP and state records are there. We got a couple state records here behind us.
And world record.
World record.
World
sorry,
record.
that's a world
Lazy
record.
smallmouth right there,
That's
man.
a world record. That's a state record. Anyway, we got a lot of cool records here in Tennessee, and it's a great place to fish. Andrew,
Yes.
thank you for being here.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you.
This has been fun and a lot of fun information and a lot of cool stories. A lot of fish stories told today.
Makes you want to go fishing.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. Well, this is Tennessee Wildcast. Like I said, teamwildlife.org for all things hunting and fishing, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.